Okay. Welcome all to the April 21st, 2025 Public Services Committee meeting. A couple of housekeeping items. Please turn your cell phones to off or vibrate. When you make a public comment, please clearly identify yourself here at the podium. And for those who are making public comment online, please use the raise hand function on the screen. If you're in person and going to make a comment, please remember to turn on the microphone and the light will shine green here. There will be no additional business discussed other than what is on our agenda. And I would just like to ask everybody for some grace today. It's our first time conducting committee meetings in this room, something that couldn't be helped. I'm not sure members of council are particularly happy about that, but it is what it is. And so this is new territory for us, so please be patient with us if there are any issues. With that, I'll ask our clerk, Jen, to please read the first item on the agenda.
Number 8, ordinance third reading, amending section 10.24.190, critical traffic control areas, creation and administration, enhanced penalties of the municipal code of the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, modifying the provisions governing the creation and enforcement of such areas.
Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Mayor Patrick Collins, and what you have before you today on third reading is our critical traffic control area ordinance. We passed this last year, and like as I said at our last meeting, two good things came out of this. One is we realized that the program does work, speed slowed down, and it made a difference. The second was that we needed to make a couple small changes to the ordinance. Nothing's changed since our second reading, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for the mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is an issue that we're all very interested in. Any comments from members of the public, either here or online? Seeing and hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of this ordinance on third reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. This item will move forward. Next item, please.
Number 11, ordinance second reading, repealing chapter 12.28 downtown graffiti abatement pilot program of Title 12 streets, sidewalks, and public places of the municipal code of the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Staff report.
Chair, members of the committee, Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director. This is a cleanup ordinance that was identified several months ago regarding the downtown graffiti abatement pilot program. Essentially, back in the day, there's a pilot program in 2019 that was put in effect. It was regarding the DDA being directed to remove graffiti from buildings in the downtown. It did change the way that liability was handled, essentially that if the DDA had made abatement measures, they weren't liable for any damages. This was intended to be a program that replaced what was an opt-in program by the Cheyenne Police Department, where in the past people were able to opt into graffiti abatement. Over the course of time, this program had been utilized by the DDA. Prior DDA directors and the DDA had included contracts with folks to do graffiti abatement. A lot of things have changed since this program has expired. Notably, a lot of the murals have gone into effect. A lot of the cases of graffiti have gone down. Presently, at this time, the DDA does budget about $3,000 to $5,000 annually. This year's proposed to be $3,000 for a graffiti abatement program. And how that works today is if a property owner does contact us with graffiti, we do contact them, we do evaluate the graffiti, and we do work on coordinating removal with them. At this time, we do not believe that this program is still necessary. We do like to have a waiver that's signed by the business owner to make sure we're protecting ourselves. But the graffiti program is handled on a citywide level in other ordinances. And this one, as specified in the ordinance, expired on November 1st of 2020. So it does need to be removed. So it would clean up the book of ordinances. I'm open for any questions that you have regarding this item.
Thank you, Charles. Any questions for Director Bloom?
Sir.
Dr. Aldrich?
So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, that this will simply remove this chapter 12.28 from our city ordinance code, and there will be anything replacing this.
Chair, that is correct.
Other questions from the committee? Hearing none, are there comments from members of the public or online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee?
I do have a quick
Dr.
comment.
Aldrich?
Chairman White, I would just say that I think this is a good move, knowing that while the DDA is up and running on its own, that there's no need for us to be involved in this type of a program, that the DDA definitely, if they want to continue this, they can do that of their own accord and would be able to bring forward another MOU at some point. But I think it's sufficient to say that they are able to do this without our need for it to be in our city code.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. This ordinance will move forward on second reading. Next item, please.
Number 12, resolution granting an exception to the 201 agreement for the owner of the property located south of High Plains Road and west of South Greeley Highway between Robert Avenue and Deshea Lane.
Staff report.
Chair, members of the committee, Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director. I had a little bit of opportunity this week to get filled in on what has happened here. Recently, the applicant has applied for an outside users agreement for water. We're actually investigating how that works with the previous outside user agreement that was approved about 7 months ago in front of the governing body. Also at the last meeting, this 201 exception, they had requested postponement. Since that postponement request was made, staff has had the ability to reach out and discuss this item and how it relates to the outside water user agreement in a little bit more detail with city, county health, and with the Board of Public Utilities. Those conversations did occur at the tail end of Friday is when we were able to start to have those conversations, and they were occurring over the weekend. And we're working on getting all of those details and items finalized on the best processes and how we can move forward, so we can give you all a very detailed summary of what would need to happen to move forward. So staff believes the best option at this time is to recommend one more postponement so we can get all of our ducks in a row and work with that applicant and the landowner to make sure that their needs are being addressed. I'm open for any questions you may have regarding this.
Thank you, Charles. Questions for Director Bloom? Hearing none. Comments from either members of the public here or online? Hearing and seeing none. Do I have a motion from the committee?
I would move to approve. You need to do an amendment, right?
We need a motion first. Yes, correct. Before you can
That's what I
postpone.
thought. So I'm moving to approve.
No, we need to do a motion first to get to discuss.
Second.
I would,
It's been moved and seconded.
Chairman White, I would move to postpone for 2 more weeks.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone for another 2 weeks. Comments from members of the public? Hearing and seeing none. Comments from the committee? All those in favor of the amendment to postpone, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. We are back on the main resolution to postpone for another 2 weeks.
Mr. Chair, since we have a motion to postpone, we'll just leave it at that.
Thanks,
have to-
Jen. It's been a minute since I've chaired, so I appreciate the clarification. So all the, this resolution will move forward with the recommendation to postpone at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 14, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for Trailhead Estates first filing, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located northeast of the intersection of Ogden Road and Crane Bluff Road.
Mr. White,
Chair and members of the committee, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. Jen, don't worry about it. I logged out. Okay. Again, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. The plat before you is located northeast of the intersection of Ogden Road and Crane Bluff. Property is zone medium density residential. It's roughly 5.59 acres in size, and the applicant is looking to subdivide the parcel into 36 single-family residential lots. This plat would also add 2 additional streets to the subdivision. Planning Commission did hear this item at their meeting at the beginning of the month, and they did recommend approval of this. Staff also recommends approval. I am available for any questions.
thank you, sir. Before we proceed, I get some emails and questions sometimes about this matter. Mr. White from planning and myself are not related. So, aren't you lucky? So, any questions for Mr. White? Dr. Aldridge?
Chairman White, through you. I noticed that in the document that we were provided under open space 4.4, that the applicant has stated that the plat is within a quarter-mile buffer of an existing neighborhood park located at the corner of Council Bluff and Mountain Road, and that they also are claiming that their location to Anderson Elementary would allow them, or would be able to be considered because there's playground equipment there. Is that common that we allow developers to rely on public school properties to mitigate open space requirements?
Chair, through you. In some cases, yes. As they had also mentioned, there is other open space in the area, and that also with second filing, which will be discussed after this, they're also proposing additional open space with that one that is also adjacent to this subdivision. So with this subdivision, they would not be required to add additional open space because it is being provided elsewhere.
Even though that elsewhere includes, sorry, Chairman White, through you, that elsewhere includes the school district property, or is it sufficient on just the buffer that they?
Chair, through you, even without the school district, I believe it would be sufficient without the school, with the buffer that they provided and the additional open space in the area.
And I have one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
I noticed that in the documentation that the name of Fawn Pass will need to be changed because there is already an existing Fawn Pass. Do we know what the proposed new name is going to be?
Mr. Chair, through you. So they actually did update their map. I believe the most recent map was actually provided to council as well in the packet, but it would be Fox Pass Trail.
I don't believe I have. that,
So,
but-
but yes, they did actually update the map. If I don't have the correct map in the file, then I will have to, we'd probably have to end up substituting that. I thought,
Thank you.
Ooh.
Those were all my questions, Chairman.
And thank you for that clarification, Dr. Aldridge, since my parents live on the original Fawn Pass for the last 40 years. So I'm sure that they will be happy about that. Any other questions for Mr. White? Hearing none. Comments or questions from members of the public, either in person or online? Welcome. Please identify yourself, please.
Thank you, Chairman White. My name is John Edwards. I'm with Edwards Development Company. I also have a couple of associates here, and if I could ask for some grace and some patience on our end as well. We had some technical issues. We did prepare a presentation, and the city was good enough to allow us at our very last option to plug in our PowerPoint and my associate, Danny Hayes, who is also with Edwards Development Company, is going to be running that portion. Also on our team here, I have Randy Gwill, who is our Planning and Development Director. And we also have our a builder partner here, David Gregg with Mission Homes. David is here mostly in relation to Trailhead Estates second filing. And before I continue, I was hoping I could ask our presentation. There's a lot of overlap with open space considerations and other elements between Trailhead Estates first and second filing. So the presentation that we prepared kind of encompasses both of them. And I was hoping to request to kind of cover both of those during this presentation. And then we could certainly answer any follow-up questions on the second. We could go over any information that we need to on the second item. But first, I'd like to ask what the preference of the committee would be in that regard.
I'm willing to allow some flexibility with this. Does members of the committee have any problem with that? Go ahead.
Okay, and thank you very much, sir. And as we go, if there's things that come up that we prefer to push to the second item, we can kind of just take this in real time together. So with that said, again, my name is John Edwards. I'm with Edwards Development Company. I want to say first that we are really excited and proud to offer both of these two new plats to the city of Cheyenne. An extensive amount of thought, design considerations have gone into this. Whenever we set out to do a new neighborhood, a new phase of a neighborhood, we go to painstaking efforts to do as many designs as possible. Because through experience, there's almost nothing worse than being halfway through construction of a project and realizing, we wish we would have put a street over here. So credit to my guys for their patience with me on how many additions we do, but some of the designs that you're going to see before you today reflect that very careful thought. So getting into the more formal presentation, I'm not going to assume, but I do believe that most of us in this room understand that we have some significant housing challenges here in Cheyenne, specifically inventory of all different types, but mostly on the attainable side, on the affordable side. Affordable gets thrown around so much, and the price increases that we've all experienced over the last few years, it's hard to define exactly what that is. But I hope as a result of this presentation, you'll be excited as we are, not only about the housing types proposed, but the price points that we believe that they're going to come in at. So real quickly, I'm going to go over a little bit more on this particular slide in front of us, but if I could ask specifically related to housing needs, if I could ask Danny to go to the second slide real quick. So we do have historically low housing inventories here in Cheyenne. And as mentioned, the most critical need is for the attainable affordable housing. One stat that I found interesting over the years, we've been in the land development business coming up on 20 years now. And when we broke ground on a previous project called Saddle Ridge out east of town in 2006, and for many years after, historically on MLS listings, on average, you'll typically see 700 to 900 total listings of all available types of homes. At its worst during COVID, it got to 67 total. As of last Friday, I talked to a real estate professional with Number One Properties to get the most updated statistics. There are currently only 100 within the city, excluding the county. There are currently only 187 total MLS listings of all types in the city. And of those 187, 45 are classified as new construction. So they're not built yet. They're in some of them may have just received building permits, et cetera. So it's one statistic to give some insight on some of the hard data to the need in our community. So Danny, if I could ask you to go back a slide real quickly, excuse me. I also want to say that we would not be in front of you today at this stage with this proposal without extensive planning efforts directly with planning staff. Intricacies of city code. I got to give a lot of credit to both David Gregg specifically as it relates to the second filing and some of our government leaders. They all took time out of their day to visit Berthoud, Colorado, to visit a product that we're proposing that's been very successful for Berthoud that again is associated with the second filing. So again, a lot of thought, a lot of preparation has gone into this. The most recent formal presentation that would be step one to this is we needed to do a zone change for the second filing. Trailhead first filing, the lot sizes and everything, as you'll see when we pull up the plats, they currently fall within their existing zone. No issues there as far as sizing and density. For Trailhead second filing, we essentially had to create some smaller lots. And I want to emphasize that part of the reason we're so excited about these, although it's technically a higher density that we needed to pursue, these are still going to be detached single family lots. So people are going to have the privacy and independence of their home, of their own home. If they want to change their roof color or their house color, there's no conflicts with neighbors, things of that nature. In the UDC, the cottage lot option, it allows for a 30-foot lot frontage minimum. And there's also some administrative approval outlines in there that allows that to be reduced by up to 10%. And in this case, again, pertaining to Trailhead Second, we're proposing several of the Trailhead Second platted lots to be 27 in width. There are others, as you'll see, plenty of others that are over the 27 and even over the 30-foot, but there are some 27-foot lots in there for a reason, as you'll see as we continue. Just for example purposes, talking about alternatives here, the highest density housing type that is allowed in an NR2 zone is what's called an MD2 building. And Danny, if you'll go to the next page, this is an example of an M2 building. This is allowed in an NR2 zone. This is not what we're proposing. It's just an example, and it kind of leads to an alternative. We could come in and do twin homes, more of the same. Just for discussion purposes, the minimum allowable twin home front lot footage is 25 feet in the UDC as it exists today. But we're going to get more into the meat of this and the dimensions and open space characteristics as we continue. So Danny, if you could go to the next slide for me. And I'm going to defer a lot of this to David for his portion. Some of our lot design considerations, what you're going to see here in a minute, again, pertaining to the second filing and not the first filing, is they are an alley loaded concept. Historically in Cheyenne, if you think of the avenues, many areas on the southern portions of the city, they have an alley load. Alley load means for those that don't know, the garage is placed off of the alley. Parking and garage access is accessed through the alley. It has a lot of benefits. Aesthetically, it creates a much more pleasant streetscape, particularly when you get into high density situations. A lot of times you'll just see a series of garage doors. This completely gets away from that concept. It also reduces street parking, safety considerations for street. There's a lot of benefits to it. And I'm already talking too long. I didn't want to do that. I told my guys I wouldn't talk this much. So let's go on to the next slide. I want to get into more of the specifics of each of the two plats, but as a quick overview, exactly where Trailhead Estates is located in relation to Cheyenne. I wanted to show an image that shows the interstate system, I-80, I-25, particularly the airport. Trailhead Estates is located immediately to the north and the east of the airport. And it's right around Anderson School Elementary, if you know where that is. So Danny, if you could go to the next slide. Okay, now we're getting more into the meat of the two, the differences. This is an enhanced view of what we were just looking at, a more close-up view. This also ties to some of the zoning changes, the zoning considerations that we made. Why both of these plats are what we feel is a very good fit for the area and the city. This particular area it's a growing area for some of the highest density, which is very much needed in our city. Particularly in the pink areas in the lower left hand of the screen. There's phase one. I apologize. I do not know the name of those apartments, but our understanding is they're in the process of building a phase two directly to the north of that phase one, that other pink circle. You also have the existing Cowboy apartments there, just above the two peak circles there. Where it says THE second, that represents Trailhead Estates second filing. That's the area for the second filing. Similarly to the orange to the right, the Trailhead Estates first filing. You can see their proximity, particularly to the orange area, Trailhead Estates first. Anderson School is directly south. I also wanted to show you, we wanted to show you this exhibit to show you kind of the whole master plan boundary for what we're planning for Trailhead Estates for the future. And that's represented by the green border that essentially forms a U shape around the Anderson School area. The total area of Trailhead Estates, what we're currently planning and the future is right at about 80 acres. Trailhead second filing is right at about 10 acres in total size. Trailhead Estates first filing is right at about 5 acres. We've done some pre-planning last year in the form of entitlements and some construction that came in the form of essentially extending 2 interior streets in a neighborhood that's currently known as the Bluffs. One of those roads that was extended and connected to Converse that's represented by one of those yellow dash lines is called Wild Bluff Road. So the curb and gutter for that road is built. It's not paved yet. Now that we're getting warm weather, we're moving closer towards actually paving that. But the curb section, the concrete elements are built. We need to pave that. Similarly, the yellow dashed line that runs north and south, that is a road that's called Ogden Road. And if you follow it to the south, you'll see it also falls immediately to the west of Anderson School. Historically, that section of Ogden Road was a gravel road. We have now paved that road from Plainview, which is the road that's immediately south of Anderson Elementary School. That road is actually paved all the way up to the southern border of the orange area, Trailhead Estates first filing. We wanted to, that was our point of emphasis, so we could get the school district bus loops open and running. So that was the last road we could get done before we ran out of warm enough weather last fall. However, continuing on the yellow dashed line for Ogden Road going north, like the existing portion, the new existing portion of Wild Bluff that I mentioned, the curb and gutter is poured up for there for that entire section of that yellow dash line that will connect to Story. And the final elements are the paving portions of that. I also want to say, if anybody has any questions at any time during this, please feel free to jump in, and certainly we want to give opportunity after we speak. So Nanny, if you could go on to the next phase or next slide, excuse me. Okay, so maybe should have started with this one. It's debatable, but so this is yet a further zoomed in version of the previous 2 slides that we were looking for. You can see the existing Cowboy apartments immediately to the left of the area noted as Trailhead Estates second filing. And then you can see Trailhead Estates first filing, which is immediately north of Anderson School there. Dr. Aldridge, I think I can add a little bit more detail to some of your questions on the open space considerations for not only these, but for the rest of the master plan for the 80 acres of Trailhead Estates, because it all kind of ties together. So now that we're on this slide, let's focus briefly on Trailhead Estates first filing, which is the first item on the agenda today. So as was noted by Mr. White with planning staff, the first filing consists of 36 of in our world of what we call cottage lots. They average in 45 feet in width by 110 feet in depth. What's nice about, there's a lot of nice things about the cottage lots from our standpoint. We introduced them in our project Saddle Ridge in 2016. The original concept was, can we create a detached single family structure at roughly, if not directly equivalent to the cost of an attached twin home or even a townhome? So that was the goal, and they've been a tremendous success from our standpoint. They've been in very high demand. We get a lot of really good feedback. Let's see, a couple of the other so open space. So as you noted, Dr. Aldridge, there are some X amount of, you could call them open space credits for the proximity to the recreational amenities for Anderson School. There's also a open space corridor. It's more of a pathway corridor, but it's fairly wide. That's designed for the second filing. There's another slide for it, but you can kind of see it in the middle of the second filing, tract A there. But more specifically, and I think it cropped a little bit off this image, but if you look at the far south section of Trailhead Estate second filing, right where it cuts off the white, there's an existing. It's interesting because it's currently in the county, but the previous owner built a regional detention pond in that area. That will need to be annexed when we get to that portion of Trailhead Estates. But it's roughly 3.5 acres, the total pond size. It's a pond, but this has been done nationally, also by us on a number of projects where when the conditions are correct, you can design a dual use detention pond. So when conditions are dry, I mean, there can be things like basketball courts, playground equipment. And frankly, in this area particularly, most of the time the conditions are going to be dry. But then in 10, 50-year events, you have the benefit of a regional pond that fills up, that is not accessible for recreation in those conditions anyway. So there are some open space considerations applied to both Trailhead first and second filing for that dual use pond area just south of Tract B there. We'd be happy to provide a little bit better of an example of that. And then the total 80 acres of Trailhead Estates, we do plan a series of future pocket parks in a couple of different areas. That doesn't directly apply to any of the percentages in the proposal in front of you today, but just so this governing body knows, part of the master plan is going to include several other, you could call it pocket parks. There's a number of different terms for it. But as also was mentioned, there is also an existing open space area that happens to be a dual use pond open space park area. It's right at the intersection of Council Bluff and Mountain Road. It's just off unfortunately it got cropped off this image too, but it's directly to the south and to the east of Anderson School by a block or two. So those are some of the additional open space considerations there. As Trailhead Estates, excuse me, let me say one more point on the first filing and how this relates to zoning and fitting into the area. Again, after several renditions, originally we were thinking about doing the Trailhead Estates second filing where the location of Trailhead Estates first filing is, but with the proximity to some of the larger single family homes, we felt it better to actually move it over to the highest density Cowboy Apartments and the growing high density there of west of Converse. So we feel it's a very nice transition throughout the neighborhood of uses for everybody's benefit. On Trailhead Estates first filing, those 45-foot wide by 110-foot lots, these are not small homes. You can get up to a 1,500, 1,600 square foot if you're so inclined, if folks can afford it on that lot size, and that's just on the first floor. If you do a second floor, I mean, you're getting into essentially the same territory as a lot of the square footages. I also want to point out, you can see on this image, there are some existing twin homes in the lower right-hand corner of this particular image, directly to the east of Anderson School. So again, from our standpoint, it's an optimal blend for this particular type of use, price point for this particular area of Cheyenne. Let's see here. Bear with me one moment. Yeah, Danny, if could you go to the next slide? I've took way too long. Some further open space considerations, excuse me, particular related to Trailhead second filing. Fortunately, the colors didn't pop as well on this one. We have a series of pathways, but the main open space feature is that track day 50 feet in the middle, 40 feet, 56, that track day in the middle. It's a pathway corridor. It's going to be landscaped. It brings out a really nice relationship between neighbors, kids being able to recreate together in that area, or they can go over to Anderson School, or soon in the future directly south to that dual use park, kind of in the tract B area there. But I don't know that we actually needed this track day with all the open space considerations, but it's a really nice feature that a lot of people like, born out of a lot of David Gregg's experience down south. So Danny, if you could go to the next one, I'm almost done here, I promise. There's just a couple of real quick exhibits of existing lots in and around Cheyenne. The green area to the left, that's Pioneer Park, elementary school area, the baseball field. In this area, we were surprised to see many lots, right at 30 feet in size, some under 30 feet in size. We found a 24-foot width, we found a 22. And I also wanted to note the alley portion, and a little bit more on the alley portion. Some of the frustrations we've heard over the years about the alleys and the trash pickup. Many of these alleys are decades old, 40s and 50s. They're not landscaped. Vegetation is out of control. All of the alleys that we're proposing are going to be 100% hardscaped for the duration of the lifespan of the project. They've been assessed for trash truck access, efficiency, turning radiuses, things of that nature. And again, kind of like the parking and the aesthetics and the safety, having the trash pickup. And there's some intricacies about exactly where those trash receptacles are placed within the alley as it relates to parking in the alley that I'm gonna let David get into, that he has a lot of thoughts and experience with. But it's a really good concept. One of the other things I want to say about this alley load concept, it does contemplate a detached garage. So again, the garage is accessed directly off of the alley. But when you have that detached garage, again, like a lot of places in the avenues, it creates a nice backyard, intimate environment between the back of the home and the front of the garage for things like barbecues. It's a nice semi-private setting for folks that enhances the backyard. We're also big proponents of front porches. We feel like that trend has not been supported enough. It needs to be brought back a lot more. We get a lot of requests for front porches and back porches and things of that nature. So One or two more slides, more of the same, different parts of Cheyenne. You'll note that this is basically an expanded view of what we were just looking at, the Pioneer Park area there to the left. This shows more of the avenues. Again, a substantial amount of 30-foot lots, some less, significant amount of alley load, but with those old alley standards on landscape. I think I'm at my very next slide, or my very last slide on the next one. This is more on the southern portion of Cheyenne. I believe that's the crossing of the railroad tracks there as it goes. And many of these lots are smaller than what we had looked at on previous slides. But again, a lot of 30s, several under 30 alley load concept, but old construction, old improvement type of alley designs that in our day and age, everything the development and building industry has learned over the years, substantial improvements. So I am so sorry I talked so long. I guess since we're on Trailhead first filing, I'd be happy to answer any questions on that or anything else.
Any questions for Mr. Edwards on the first filing? Okay. Hearing none. Are any comments from members of the public on the item for the first filing?
And last thing, let me say, I was going to have David get up, but now the flow of this, I think it'd be much better. The next portion is more of his side of the presentation. He's brought some great pictures in, and that might be better suited for the second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Lloyd?
Seth Lloyd, City of Cheyenne Planning and Development Department. We don't frequently review projects for compliance with past standards, but I would note that first filing, in order to comply with standards from a few years ago, would lose about 6 lots. So it would only be about 30 lots instead of 36 lots. I know there have been council members asking questions as to whether the code amendments that have been passed in the last few years have had an effect. So I just wanted to note that this subdivision can add 6 lots without any special considerations due to the code amendment.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lloyd. Any other comments from members of the public, either here or online, for the first filing? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
To approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution for the first filing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That resolution will move forward at the next meeting of the governing body. Next item, please.
Number 15, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for Trailhead Estates second filing, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located northwest of the intersection of Ogden Road and Crane Bluff Road.
Mr. White?
Chair and Committee, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. I think we had a pretty good overview of what the second filing is. The applicant's proposing subdividing a parcel of land that's about 11.92 acres of land into 86 single-family residential lots. 2 of the lots, that being track A and then track B, both of those are proposed for open space. They are proposing 27-foot wide lots. As mentioned, the UDC's minimum is our DD8, which is 30 feet. But also, as mentioned, that does allow for a reduction by administrative adjustment. The lots that face track A could be considered or would be considered cottage lots per the UDC. So it actually does, without an administrative adjustment, those lots are actually allowed to reduce their frontage just by being cottage lots. And then track A would have to be developed as open space per cottage lot section of code. Planning Commission did hear this item at their meeting at the beginning of the month. They did recommend approval, but they did recommend approval with a condition that proposed lots comply with the required 30-foot lot width. And with that, I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any questions for Mr. White?
Sir.
Dr. Aldrich?
Chairman White, through you, I have several questions here. One question I had was in the documents we were provided, one lot was set aside for recreation. And then there was also another lot that was being set aside with no explanation. So I was curious as to what that lot was being set aside for.
Chair, through you, I believe that is track B. And track B, as the developer mentioned, will eventually be proposed for some sort of open space. But as of right now, they're designating that as for basically future development. But as our understanding, that would go towards open space at a later date. But the one track that will be made open space with this would be track A.
Chairman White, I also was curious as to what are the road widths that we're seeing throughout this development? Are they standard road widths in the front of the houses, even though they have rear loading garages?
Chair, through you. Yes, these are standard roadway widths. They were reviewed by our engineering department. This is just a local street size. So this is allowed in residential neighborhoods. It's probably one of our smaller locals because you're not going to have all the garages and everything that are using alleys in this case, because they're all going to be alley loaded. Forgot to mention that yes, council did approve the zone change to this to be NR2, which actually requires that they do alley loaded, which is why this proposal has come forward the way it is, because our NR zones, they don't allow for front loading. This is similar to what we saw in Harmony Valley with their NR3. NR3 is just to the west for that apartment complex. NR2 is just slightly less than the NR3, but it still requires that alley loaded.
So I'm assuming that then parking would be allowed on these streets, so we may end up with a similar situation to what we have in the avenues right now, where you may have people parked across from each other and can't get an emergency vehicle through?
I think these streets would be wider than some of the streets that we have in the avenues. I'm seeing the developer shake his head, yes. But clarification on that?
Chair, through you. So the right of way that is proposed is 56 feet of right of way. Some of the
much wider.
avenues right of ways are definitely a lot more narrow. So yes, this does allow for parking on the street, but we shouldn't have a situation similar to the avenues.
And Chairman White, through you, are you planning, or is there an HOA that's planned for this development?
Chair, through you, I believe that is the case. There would be an HOA. The city is not taking over the landscaped areas, so that will have to be maintained by an HOA, and I believe it's actually on the face of the plat as to how that's going to be maintained. So yes, there would be an HOA.
So I'm guessing then that the hardened surfaces and the storm utility fee would be assessed to the HOA, and then that cost would be distributed amongst the homeowners.
Chair, through you, I am uncertain how to answer that.
Just a thought. Okay, thanks.
Director Bloom is shaking his head yes to that question, Dr. Aldridge.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Okay, any comments from members of the public, either here or online? I think you had mentioned that you had some depictions of what the design would look like, and I, for one, would certainly like to see these.
Yes, sir. As a brief transition, again, John Edwards with Edwards Development. For the specifics, I'd like to turn this portion of the presentation over to David Gregg with Mission Homes.
Welcome, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is David Gregg. I'm an architect and founder and co-owner of Mission Homes, Wyoming. We are proudly starter home builders in an environment where most home builders are building larger, more expensive homes. We take pride in building something that's affordable and attainable to our workforce and working class people. Go ahead. I am going to emphasize a little bit in what I'm presenting to you, lot width. Simply because the lot width was a condition that the planning commission brought forward to recommend no greater than 30 foot. Even though, as has been explained, 27 foot is truly allowed by code, the recommendation is actually more stringent than the Cheyenne code. And I want to speak to that lot width concern. There was also some discussion at the planning commission meeting about the green belt, and I'm going to talk about that as well. There were some concerns about, I don't know if you noticed on the map where Crane Bluff. We didn't continue Crane Bluff into our subdivision. We made that a 56-foot wide green belt. It's a park space. We prefer when we can, because it's alley load, we actually don't have to have an asphalt street in the front of the home. We can have a park. And that makes a very lovely setting for our customers. Let me talk about the product. What you see here is what we built in Berthoud. We were very proud to have your mayor, as well as a number of department heads and some others come along for a tour of these homes. We built 88 of these in Berthoud over the last several years. These are 900 to 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single family detached homes with front porches, front yards, fenced in private backyards. You don't get those sort of things on townhomes, but we are roughly at the density of townhomes. So I ask you to think about these as detached townhomes. That might kind of help feel a little more comfort level about the density and the lot widths and some of those sort of things. And what you see here, this is the Berthoud project. These are 26-foot wide lots. Go ahead. I won't spend too much time on the floor plans, but they're very energy and water efficient at 900 to 1,200 square feet, you can probably imagine. But we made sure, as I made sure when I designed these, that the plans were very functional, very furnishable. And unlike townhomes, I mentioned front porch, private fenced backyards, functional furnishable interiors. We didn't want to get so small that we started getting into tiny home territory where your space is double. You know, you got a Murphy bed in your dining room, those kind of things. We didn't want that. We wanted to function like a normal home, and they do. And I'd really like to emphasize when it comes to the lot size that this is nothing new. Most of our old historic neighborhoods, it could be Cheyenne, it could be Berthoud, it could be Laramie, it could be Fort Collins. Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, whole blocks were often subdivided into 25-foot wide alley load lots. If you were building a starter home, you bought a 25-foot wide lot. And I'm sure you guys can picture the places you can drive in Old Town Cheyenne where you see these cute little small cottages on narrow lots. Those were the starter homes of a century ago. If you wanted a larger home, you bought 2 lots. If you wanted the estate home on the corner, you'd buy 3, right? But 20, 25, 26, 30-foot wide lots, it's nothing new. This is just a stock photo of an old historic neighborhood with roughly the same sort of size lots that we're proposing. In the 1950s, 900 square feet was the average new home. And whenever I mention that statistic to people, they say, oh, I grew up in a home like that. Today, the average new home being built is 2,500 square feet. And we all wonder and we point fingers at each other, what happened to affordability? What size matters? And we're building those smaller, they're affordable because of the size, not because of subsidy. We don't take subsidies. We don't income qualify or deed restrict. These are transacted with normal mortgages on a normal marketplace. There's examples within Cheyenne, if you're familiar with this, North College, just north of Del Range. I went on the assessor website and measured out these lots at roughly 28 feet wide. This is existing product in Cheyenne, and these homes are probably closer to 2,000 square feet. This is a project I did about 15 years ago in Longmont. Similar earlier generation of the cottage plans that we're bringing to Cheyenne. These were built on 24-foot wide lots. We also did the same sort of plans, earlier generations of these plans at the Stapleton redevelopment in Denver, as well as the Centera subdivision in Loveland. These were built on lots as narrow as 24 feet wide. And there's another graphic showing what that looks like. Again, think detached townhomes. And back to Prairie Star in Berthoud, that's our flagship project, the most recent one that we built. Those are on 26-foot wide lots. And this is the one that was visited by several elected officials and staff. Notice, if you will, and we'll have a couple more slides, there's no street in front of these homes. This particular photograph taken down one of the green belts on the Berthoud project that we hope to recreate at Trailhead. There's a lot of variables in play here, so don't quote me, but we're fairly confident that we can hit the market at a base price for these homes in the high 200s to low 300s. And if you've followed anything with real estate lately, even in Cheyenne, Cheyenne is racing towards an average of $500,000 for a new home right now on the marketplace. I mentioned Greenbelt. This is the land plan from the Berthoud project. The orange lots are the ones that we built on. And if you go one more, this is the aerial of that same area. I've circled two areas. I'm going to show you some photographs of. Those are the green belts where we could have otherwise put a road. Because we're alley loaded, we're able to put the homes on a park. And in fact, the circle to the right, that block, we built 32 homes, only 5 actually fronted a street. And we found, to a rather large degree, the homes that did not front on a street were preferred by our buyers. Much quieter setting. We call it a landscape pedestrian street. And in fact, Berthoud, I thought, was very ingenious that you can see on this map from Google. They named the Greenbelt road trail, the path. That way, when mail is delivered and things like that, you can have an address with a street name. This is the view down one of those. Now, just because of the geometry that was available to us at this project, that happens to be a 25 or a 20-foot right of way. We've more than doubled that at Trailhead. So I think it's going to be a very nice linear park-like setting at the Trailhead. And as I said, our buyers prefer it. There were some concerns expressed at the Planning Commission meeting about parking. This is middle of the day, and people need to park at the ends of those green belts. There wasn't anybody there that particular day. So the guest parking is very adequately taken care of by parking at the ends. And I will note that both of the north-south roads, I can't think of the names, allow parking along those roads. And when we don't have any driveways interrupting the available parking, you can actually park quite a few cars along those side roads without having to run a street down the front yards of these people. One more picture of a greenbelt where we have pedestrian instead of cars in front of our homes. Go ahead. This is a really quick illustration to show why the density is important, why the 27-foot wide is important. We've done some rough calculations. If we were to replat with a minimum of a 30-foot wide lot, we would lose 8 to 10 lots. So that's 8 to 10 lots out of 86 that would not be available for affordable homes to be sold to Cheyenne citizens. And on the left, you can see the graphic. The lower left shows a typically subdivided urban block with traditional sized lots. We seek to roughly double that density, and in doing so, reduce our lot costs substantially, which helps us maintain our affordability. So the lot size and the density is so very important to affordability. But I would also note, if you look on the right, in roughly the same amount of real estate, so our lots are about half the size, but we're putting 2 homes on that same real estate. So we're actually putting more value of home on the same square footage of real estate. So instead of a 500,000 square foot home, you have $500,000 home, you have 2 $300,000 homes. And one more slide. Right now, there's really nobody building single family detached, affordable, attainable homes in Cheyenne or Northern Colorado or anywhere else.
Please talk.
Sorry about that.
So folks online can hear you.
At the lower income levels, there's always things like Habitat for Humanity, Housing Authority, Section 8, subsidized housing, things like that. On the other end, you've got all the traditional builders building the 2,000 and 2,500 square foot homes and $500,000. Where most of your wage earners are, the middle of the bell curve, nobody's building homes for people like that. And we proudly do at a price that the middle income earners can afford. And most new single family detached homes are not affordable to your average wage earners. And why aren't other builders doing this? They believe it's not as profitable. I would argue that, but I don't need to do that with you today. Developers prioritize the more marketable and typical lots, the 50 by 100s. Approvals are more difficult. The NIMBY element in any neighborhood is going to come out when they hear about the density, regardless of how attractive the product may look or how important it is to the community to have affordability. And approvals are also sometimes harder because as a single family detached lot, these homes break some rules that are typically applied to larger single family detached lots. So you have to go through some process and like with planning commission, you know, where they say, well, we don't like this, so would you please do it that way? And it's a little harder to get something that's not traditional approved. And those are some of the reasons why you don't see more like this. We like to fight those battles and get the affordable homes built. So we humbly ask for your blessing on this project so we can move forward and build 86 attainable homes for your citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. Any questions for Mr. Gregg? Hearing none. Any comments from members of the public, either here present or online? Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Seth Lloyd, Planning and Development again. Just by way of note, similar to the previous plat, these lots would also not meet our old area minimum standards. And we would have had to, they were probably within the 10% line. So we probably would have had to acknowledge relief on that as well if we wanted this to be built. Also, previous codes would have only allowed 10 units to face a common open space, and this plat proposes, I think, 23. So they would have had to either shrink the common open space or turn that into a street under previous codes. Once again, we don't usually review plats for compliance with previous regulations, but just to, once again, kind of give some ideas to what these regulations changes have done for us.
We appreciate that information, Mr. Lloyd. Thank you. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor Collins, just wanted to say a couple things. One is I did go down to Berthoud because I thought maybe it might be too good to be true, that we could have this kind of density and yet still have a development that I would want to live in or want my kids to live in. And I got down there and it's beautiful. The homes are well built. I got to go inside a home and see it. They don't look all the same. I mean, I think about Kevin Keller's project, very much needed stuff that we did down along I-80. But as you drive by, all you see is two-car garage faces. Very functional, works really well, but not a place I would typically want to live in. They're very cute homes. I talked to some of the folks who live there. They've been there for 4 and 5 years. They love it. I was concerned about the alleys, but they moved their garages closer to the property line. It prevents people from being able to park back there, so we don't have problems with garbage trucks going through. They've really thought through most everything. And what I'm really excited about is this governing body over the last couple of years has worked really hard with our Affordable Housing Task Force, the WCDA, all of the different recommendations for things we could do to encourage more attainable housing. We've passed all those rules, and now we actually have developers who are coming to us with exactly what we hoped would happen, which is smaller, more affordable homes for people to get their first home or maybe their last home to live into. So I do think the width is important. Getting those last 8 units to me is 8 or 10 units is important. And I would encourage that we would make 27 feet the standard. As like I say, it's not a change from our code. It's within our code. And I'm excited Mr. Gregg has chosen to come to Cheyenne, and I'm excited about this project.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
To approve.
Second.
I think there is an option on this particular one. There's 2. This is item 15. So I I think we were looking at the second option.
Chairman, I would move to adopt with acknowledging relief to reduce lot frontage from 30 to 27 feet for DD8 single-family lots not facing open space and subject to the applicant making technical corrections prior to recording of the plat.
Second.
It's been seconded. Comments from the committee.
I just had one question.
Go ahead, Dr. Aldrich.
Chairman White, with seeing that or hearing that there are 23 of these lots that would face the open space, I'm a little concerned about that poor person who lives directly in the middle of those 23 lots, that they're going to be 12 lots in from either end. So is there any type of a break or a pathway that's planned for midway between that length of street?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair and committee members. This is a picture down the green belt, one of the green belts in the Berthoud project. That green belt had 16 homes on one side. So you would have to go past 7 front porches to get to the most buried of them, which would be more buried than the Trailhead project. And we have received 0 complaints. And as I said, generally speaking, our feedback from our buyers has been that they prefer to be in a situation like that. Their guests figure it out. They park at the end and walk. The services like UPS and FedEx figured out pretty quickly. And I do think naming that green belt, that path, was a big part of why that makes sense for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aldrich. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Emmons.
I just want to say how excited I am to see something outside of the box, and the fact that you guys have been creative to not just keep trying to do the same thing over and over and think we're going to get a different result. So I think these look great. So thank you for being creative in your approach.
Thank you, Dr. Emmons. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none. All those in favor of this resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. This item will move forward with a recommendation to pass at the next meeting of the governing body. Last item, please.
Number 16, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for Jolly Rogers, third filing, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located northwest of US 30 and Whitney Road.
Staff report. And I know Dr. Aldridge is on a tight timeline, so go ahead.
Chairman and committee of the members of the board, Brandon Gilchrist, Planning and Development Department. We have a applicant requesting for a plat of 7.39 acres to split into 2 lots for a multifamily complex. There's already a site plan in place for this project already. Again, the applicant is looking to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots. And I stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aldrich.
I was just curious, Chairman White, I believe this is a presentation that we saw not too long ago about out of South Dakota. Is that correct?
It's the Stencil
Okay.
Group. Yes.
So, so that was my question, was if this was that same presentation. Thank you.
You are correct. Any others? Comments from members of the public, either present or online? Mr. Christensen, welcome back.
Yes, Chairman, through you, to the members of the Public Service Committee. So this is just a simple subdivision. The purpose of splitting this into 2 lots is specifically for lending purposes. The owner of the lots is looking to go through 2 different lenders, so we're splitting the lots that way. We worked with staff to ensure all of our easements would be appropriate to make sure that the site plan could function. We do have an approved site plan, so it's clearly for those clerical reasons.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion for the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt as recommended by the Planning Commission.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. This item will move forward. That concludes the business of the PSC for today's meeting, and this meeting is adjourned.